Where's Setzer? Oh, there he is. Okay. You guys come in and sit down and leave him alone for a minute. Okay. Man, oh man, you bring me back to Arizona for one day, and you give me this kind of an evening. But you're trying to keep me here, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I live in Fredericksburg, Texas now. I've been there about a year and a half. And we love the hill country. That's what it is. It's hill country. But I'll tell you what, nothing beats an Arizona evening like this. And this is, every time I went to play tennis at Eastern Arizona College just before I moved, it would be an evening kind of like this, and we're playing tennis, and you can see the palm trees and the sunset and the beautiful mountains that surround Safford. And you'd go, well, people don't have to ask us why we live in Arizona. And boy, this is one of those evenings where you don't have to ask why we live in Arizona. I'm really thrilled to be here for the event that's brought us together and the candidacy that's brought us together. I'm always grateful to people who are willing to put themselves on the line for what Patrick Henry called the holy cause of liberty. And that's in his famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. He calls it the holy cause of liberty. And if it really is a holy cause, then the holy cause comes from the Holy of Holies, and that's from the good Lord. Yeah. And so we've got to remember the basics of American politics and the American foundation, and that is that it's all about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that all of these rights come from our Creator. Now, do any of you know where in any of our documents that it tells us what government is for? Does the Constitution say what government is for? Now, I asked this question at a Brigham Young University political science class, and I was teaching the class, and there was 250 students in there. I'll get to you. Keep your hand up. I don't want to forget you. And we're going to see if he knows the answer. He's acting like he knows the answer, okay? Well, I asked 250 political science students at a major university in the West, Brigham Young University, and I used to do a class there like I did every semester for 10 years, and I always asked this question. I said, where in any of our foundational documents does it say, what is government for? Don't you think that a college student or a high school graduate should know what government is for? Why do we have government? And where do we see in any of our documents that says what it is? Well, one girl up in the back, she goes, oh, I know, because there was complete silence at first. And then finally she got brave and she goes, the purpose of government is to form a more perfect union. And I said, I really like that quote from the preamble, but I don't have time. It's a short class, so I don't have time to be tactful. So I said, but that's wrong. So then finally a girl over on the right raised her hand and she goes, I know what it is. And she gave the answer, and I don't want to give the answer because I don't want to spoil his thunder. She gave the answer, and I said, oh, I know. You were homeschooled, right? And she said, yes. The only person out of 250 that knew the answer was homeschooled. Because we don't teach the Constitution in our schools anymore. We teach political correctness, and we teach some curriculum that's so far out there that was devised by the NEA, who works with the federal government in telling us what we have to teach in our schools in Arizona. And that's a bunch of BS. Okay? I have said this all along, even when I wasn't running for office, that we might be a bunch of rednecks out here in Arizona, but I guarantee you two things. We can run our own Grand Canyon and run our own education without the federal government.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just think we're that smart, okay? So, anyway, where in any of our foundational documents does it say what government is for? What's the purpose of government?
You want the declarational or do you want the Constitution? They're both the same, really.
The Constitution doesn't say it nearly as specific as the Declaration of Independence does. And the Declaration of Independence absolutely nails it. And if you're going to tell me that, absolutely give it to me.
May I repeat myself? At the fear of repeating myself, which I'm not really afraid of doing, I'm going to repeat myself. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Wait.
We always hear about that, don't we? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You hear from all politicians. And now he's going to give the answer.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men.
Deriving their just powers from the consent of the
Government. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm going to try to correct him on one thing. These rights are not, what is it? Unalienable? They're unalienable. They're unalienable. The word does not alienate. It's unalienable. You cannot put a lien on these rights. Okay? Those rights are untouchable. They're unalienable. And that's what the founders meant. You can't move them. You can't touch them. You can't lean on them. You can't lean on them. And so when an officer of Pima County gets up and swears an oath to uphold, defend, protect, and preserve the United States Constitution, he is saying that your unalienable rights will be protected by him even if it costs him his life. Because you can't go back on an oath. The only way you can go back on an oath is to die. You have to give your life. And the founding fathers actually put it in the Constitution that each one of us in government is required by law to swear an oath of allegiance to the president. Oh, whoops. Just wanted to see if you're awake. You swear an oath of allegiance to our Constitution. And I'm going to tell you something right now. There are but few that keep that oath. And there's very few, even fewer, here in Pima County. And I guarantee you, your sheriff is not an oath keeper. In fact, you actually have something here that's quite unique in Pima County, okay? You actually can be proud that at least your sheriff is up front with you and tells you he won't keep his oath of office. He won't protect your right to life or liberty. He won't protect your right to keep and bear arms. He doesn't think you should have the right to keep and bear arms. And we obviously saw what he thought of life during the incident of Jose Guerrero. It was his fault. He shouldn't have had a gun in his home. If you have a gun, then of course, police are going to shoot you. And that's what we did. And I find that astonishing. And I am surprised that the entire Democrat community and the Hispanic community have not informed him that he will no longer be representing this county. He should not. And I'm proud to be here with someone who has the character to keep his oath of office, to keep his word. And I'll be the first one to admit that the evolution of the dearth of attention that we pay to our Constitution, or that we pay to our oath of office, I was a part of it once. I just wanted to be a cop. I just wanted to get a paycheck and have fun and be able to drive cars fast all the time, whether I was on or off duty. Because I didn't have to worry about it because I had a badge in my pocket. And I just badged my way out of everything. So I didn't have to worry about anything, especially when you're in the car. In the police car, you don't have to worry about it at all then, of course. But I think that there's a much higher calling for our police and especially our sheriff, because he is the ultimate authority in the county. And what I'd like all of you to do is allow me to give a little bit of a commercial message so that you know the tools that I brought with me. I've actually written 6 books. The first one, I was sheriff in Graham County in Safford. That first one came out in 1994. Some of you may already have that one. It was called From My Cold Dead Fingers. And you know why I wrote that book, From My Cold Dead Fingers? Because I was the first sheriff in American history to file a lawsuit against an existing president and the federal government to tell them that they couldn't tell me what to do. Isn't that funny? I had to tell them that they couldn't tell me what to do. So I sued the federal government, I sued the Clinton administration, and the greatest miracle of suing the Clintons is that I lived to tell about it. And we're grateful for that miracle. Yeah. And of all the people that sued Bill Clinton, now you know how his lawsuit history goes way back, even way back when he was governor of Arkansas. Yeah. But of all the people that sued him, I was the only one to ever sue him on a non-sexual matter. Oh, somebody just got that. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
Right? Yeah.
First, I have a card over on the table that's talking about our second Constitutional Sheriff Convention. And this time it's on Constitution Day. When's that? September 17th. It's in Las Vegas. And we're going to celebrate the Constitution with constitutional sheriffs and peace officers and other public officials. And the two keynote speakers are Sheriff Joe Arpaio and Ken Ivory from Utah. Does anybody know who Ken Ivory is? He's the state rep who has proposed legislation that we take back our land from the federal government. We need to do that more than Utah does because Utah's only owned about 71%. We are about 85%. And guess which county is the worst one in the nation? Graham. 95% owned by the federal government. 95. Yeah, and so do you know why a lot of us are going broke out here in the West? Because the federal government owns the tax base. Your land is the tax base. If you can't own the land, you really can't work it much to really make the taxes grow. So anyway, we're having the next convention. We've invited Walt, and we hope that he'll bring his wife and come to that convention. But you too can come. How could we celebrate Constitution Day without we the people? And so come and hear how we're doing this. And I can show you, we have a video over on the table of the last convention that we had on January 30th of this year. And you can see that our solution is real. It's not pie in the sky, hoping and talking, and maybe we can take back our freedom. We can take back our freedom now. And how do we do that? County by county, sheriff by sheriff. And no sheriff can do this without the support of the community. And we need to get people who honestly believe in our Constitution, who believe in what we set up here is having government leave us alone. And this is what, oh, you know what it is? You know what it is when government leaves you alone?
Happiness?
It's called freedom. When government leaves you alone, the very definition of freedom and liberty is designed by how much government stays off your back. Does the federal government stay off your back today? Nope. Do you know this is actually the truth. The federal government has hundreds and hundreds of bureaucracies that run our lives, every facet of our lives. They run our land, our water, our children, our homes, our air, everything about it. And now our health care. And they believe that they just have a right to do that. And they believe that their bureaucratic policies somehow miraculously supersede the Bill of Rights. Or what it says in the Declaration of Independence, our right to pursue happiness. That their policies and their bureaucratic regulations are superior to that. And even some courts have agreed that they can come in and do spot inspections, or that the IRS can come in and do random audits. Since when did a random audit become constitutional in America? And that if we don't monitor ourselves financially for the IRS, we go to prison. Where did that come from? And that's America? And that's the American dream? No. We have got to stop that, and stop it we will. And then this little tiny booklet, how much do you think that cost? Some of you look at that and say maybe 50 cents. That's $400,000. You talk about fundraising. Instead of paying me for that, I want each of you to donate to Walt's campaign. Okay? But this did cost $400,000. Because this is a review of the Supreme Court decision in the Mack Prince case. and it costs $400,000 to go from the district court right here in Tucson all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Justice Scalia wrote the decision for the majority, and we won. And it's the greatest landmark decision on the 10th Amendment. And what this decision said is that the federal government is not our boss. Can I quote one little thing from the decision? It says, and Justice Scalia says this, "We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction." Does that mean county legislatures are? Does that mean city legislatures are? No, they're all political subdivisions of the state. And Scalia clarifies that also in the decision, that we're political subdivisions of the state. So we are not, the state of Arizona is not subject to federal direction. In other words, the President of the United States cannot tell us what to do. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't care